Hello there everybody, and welcome to another episode of Momentum Charting. I'm Alex. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much. If you would just do me a quick favor, go down below, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, because as I mentioned, this weekend and on Friday, you are not going to want to miss any of the exciting updates coming up on the stock market over the next couple of weeks, and we are going to dive into that a little bit more in this episode of the update for SPY. But again, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and let's dive in here to the chart. Very, very interesting things been happening over the past few days. So on Friday and also this weekend, I'm not sure exactly how many different videos I made between Friday and then Saturday, probably between 5, 10, maybe a few more than that. But I laid out the evidence that I felt that there was going to be some major turmoil in the markets and increased volatility in the broad markets for the next couple of weeks. And I also laid out the case that you wanted to be very, very careful moving forward in all your entries, all your long positions, all your swing positions, because of that, what I perceive to be a period of extreme heightened volatility and downside risk over the next couple trading weeks. And boy, did that end up playing out today in spades. This had to have been one of the biggest drops, almost, well, at one point it was over 2% on the SPY, and then came back quite a bit towards the end of the day. I think ending up maybe down 1.6%, something like that, 1.5%. So way off of its lows, but that does not take away the fact that what I still believe, this is just going to be the start of a larger correction, and going to once again kind of lay out the things that I was pointing out in Friday's video, as well as basically in all of the update videos I was coming out with on Friday and Saturday. I mentioned broader markets, be careful, and just kind of want to bring that theme forward for this week for you. Just be very, very careful on all your long entries, all your swing positions. You know, not necessarily long-term holds, anything like that, but yes, if you are planning on doing the buy the dip thing or looking for swing short-term positions, you're just going to want to be very, very careful here moving forward, in my humble opinion, over the next couple of weeks. And we want to see where this thing is going to go. So the evidence that I had brought forward and is still very much intact today. Number one, on the 1 hour momentum chart, we had broken this line of support on the 1 hour as of Friday, and that just really started playing out in a nasty push down to the downside today, which obviously resulted in a really pretty big down day for broad markets. And then let's go over to the SQQQ. This was another piece of evidence that I brought forward. And what the SQQQ, for those of you that don't know, is the inverse of the QQQs and plays kind of the opposite of the broad markets. So for the NASDAQ 100. And this is what I was pointing out to everybody. I pointed out this series of positive divergent bottoms that had been forming since December of 2020. 1, 2, 3, and 4. A series of 4 consecutive positive divergent double bottoms. And not only that, what had appeared to happen on Friday, Thursday and Friday actually, not only did we set out what looked to be our 4th positive divergent bottom in place, but we had broken out of and set in place what looked to be a bottom formation that I was pretty confident in was going to play out. You can see here this the points of June 17th, June 21st played out, broke to the upside, and this topping pattern here broken out to the upside. So I was pretty confident that both this and this would allow us to carry to higher prices in the SQQQ, which would in fact obviously be negative for broader markets. So this is was the second piece of evidence that I brought forward, okay, in the broad markets potential chance for extreme period of volatility heading up in the next couple of weeks. And then the third piece of evidence that I brought forward, let's go to the 4-hour chart here, was the VIX, the chart of the VIX. And this is what I was saying, that we had put in place on the 4-hour momentum chart the first positive divergent bottom really that had happened since basically this explosion to the upside since COVID. So that was kind of the evidence I had in place. You know, this had been waning momentum ever since obviously March of 2020 after the COVID lows, just waning momentum, waning momentum, waning momentum. But then finally here in April of this year, we started this series of kind of higher lows and higher highs on the momentum, and I drew this trend line here on the 4-hour pointing out that it indeed looked to me like we were setting up for something that could explode this volatility to the upside. And I also mentioned to you guys that I felt that kind of if we were able to break above this downward sloping trend line, we could be set for a bigger correction than I had initially thought. And I don't know for certain if that's going to play out here, but I just want to point out this, what appears to be increasing to the upside momentum, which is obviously, this again is the VIXy, and when the VIX is at increased points, increased price and higher VIX leads to more volatile markets. And that was the third piece of evidence that I had brought forward to you guys on Friday about just to be careful, right, and in your short-term swing positions, and we could be in for periods of higher volatility over the next few weeks. I still believe that, obviously. So we are going to want to pay very, very close attention here to how this develops, okay? And then lastly, I kind of noticed this today. I just wanted to point out this XLF chart. I just found it kind of interesting. Just again on this momentum, which I do like to use. This XLF, which is the financial sector, we have broken down to the downside in this momentum in a big way. This pattern has broken completely ever since July. This upward momentum in the financial sector has broken to the downside for the first time since July 10th, 2020, so a year now. So I noticed this today, and I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, guys, but one thing is for sure, right now, again, we do want to be very, very careful, and this potentially leads me to believe we are going to be in for a larger correction again than we initially pointed out to. So we do want to be very, very careful in here, but there's good news, because as much as you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, that I think I've been uploading videos on the channel now for about a week, maybe 6-7 days, something like that. If you watch my videos, you know that I am a long-term bull at heart. I love bullish opportunities. I love bullish setups. That's what I always look for in the markets. But at the same time, you know, these opportunities with corrections like this just don't happen every day in the market. It takes a long time for them to develop and a long time for them to get set up. So I do like to look for short opportunities when these corrections start to develop, which I do believe is going to be in the works now. And I think I think we could potentially lead for some very exciting short-term scalping opportunities in the near-term future here. And normally when you start getting these big corrections like this, and again, guys, I don't know exactly how big or how long this correction here is going to unfold, but definitely you are going to want to stay subscribed to this channel if you haven't done so. I'm going to be focusing as often as I can on the broader markets through this period of correction, because of the fact that unless you've got some really micro cap stock opportunity that you think is going to fly, you want to be really, really careful trying to go long in any type of stock in this environment, increased volatility in the environment. I would liken it to trying to swim upstream. You want to go where the opportunities go in the broader markets with so much downward pressure right now in markets, at least in the short term. I prefer to sort of swim with the tide, and I'm going to be looking for shorting opportunities right now, definitely over the next couple of trading weeks. That's where my focus is going to be. So you're not going to want to miss any of those. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos from this point forward on the SPY and the QQQ for the most part. So I might even do some longer videos. Normally I keep them very short, but I might even do something during the live session tomorrow, because I think by tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, is going to set up our first really important short scalping opportunity. So I'm going to try to do that live and upload that videos for you guys as quickly as I can, so you can kind of see how I go through this process when we do get the opportunity to short the market, which again doesn't come up that often. So normally what I was going to say, when you get these kind of corrections, normally it plays out in one of two ways. These corrections, it's like and now this is the one part of Elliott wave that I do think is reasonable. I don't want to get into the whole Elliott wave thing. I've done videos on that in the past. If you haven't seen it, you can check those out. But these corrections do tend to play out in two main ways, and one of them is like these three wave corrections. Okay, something like this, like an A, B, C, which in Elliott waves they call it like an ABC correction in Elliott waves. So that's the first way they tend to play out. And then the other way would be like a 5-wave, right? A 5-wave correction, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So something like that. So I do believe here that this has been such a big drop in the last just 2 days. We got the first signs of it again, really, to me on Friday, and then just with this massive follow through, the massive follow through that we had today. So I think we're going to get one of these to play out. And now, just because that first correction completes doesn't necessarily mean that there can't be a further correction, right? This can be part of like a larger correction, but don't worry about that for now. I'm going to try to follow this kind of piece by piece and get the best opportunities to short this thing that I possibly can. Again, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you get all my updates on SPY and QQQ over the next couple of weeks. I think there's going to be some tremendous opportunities in here to short this market. And let me just go back here. I really think this correction is going to play out in a similar fashion to a couple that we've had earlier this year. Okay, now actually let's go back, and it could certainly, I've got 4 places notated that I think it could potentially play out in a similar fashion. And the first one to me, really, I think it could potentially play out something like happened in September of 2020. I'll move to the corrections that happened this year in a second. But what you can see here very clearly defined what happens in these corrections. Always, 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 you get these moves. And I'm on the 1 hour momentum chart here, and this is, to me, is the most useful tool I have to kind of follow these corrections to the downside. So you tend to get these, after these corrections, you tend to get these big spikes back to the upside in price. And this is where I want to target for my short entries on the SPY, playing the SPY to the downside. So you can see you set up your momentum line, and when that breaks, you go back here, and what you do is you take the highest points of the wick, and that would be your position that you would, basically your stop to the short side. And then when this thing rolls over, that's when you take your profits and you look for a point to exit, which would be the break of this 1 hour momentum line back to the upside. I know, guys, this is a little bit complicated, and I'm not trying to show you like what has happened in the past. I'm just kind of trying to give you an idea here of what I think is going to happen with this correction that's coming up. And I'm going to take you through this thing again live as it develops over the next week, next couple weeks, to try to get the best opportunities that we can. So and then you can see here again the same thing played out here in September 14th, 2020. Came up here, broke the momentum line to the 1 hour. You had your stop in place at the highest wick here. And basically what happens, you don't want any of these, you get out of your short position if any of these candle bodies break your highest wick. And none of them did here. You can see it just had wick. It's just same thing here like in 9th September, wick, 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 wick. Nothing could ever break, and then you just play this again to the downside, right? So I think it could play out something like this. The next one potentially that could happen here is this appears to be sort of a 5-wave drop that developed here in October of last year. So I think this is another possibility of the way this plays out. But again, the way to attack it is very similar. You just look for these pullbacks and then a breakdown of momentum back to the downside, kind of a rolling over of momentum. And that's, again, where you attack to the downside, and you want to play it the very same way. Set your stops at the highest wicks, and if it does break above these levels on any part of the candle, you are out of your position and just hoping for a nice move to the downside like we got here in October. And this one here, let's see, this one was kind of interesting here in January of this year. We had this really sharp retrace of prices over the period of just a few hours, and you know, the neat thing about these corrections is that they tend to develop rather quickly. You have sharp downside moves, sharp corrections, and if you get on the right side at the right time, they can offer some tremendous opportunities to profit on the short side, which is why I like them so much. So this one was kind of interesting here. You had this really sharp retrace in price, and then momentum broke here on the 11:30 candle on January 28th. So you would have set your wick, your stop point right here, and you can see never broke, only broke to the downside. So you had another opportunity that went from 380 all down to 368. I mean, if you guys know anything about shorting or like short-term options, things like that, things like this can offer tremendous risk-reward potential. Again, as always, not trading advice. You want to be very, very careful, especially when doing anything involving options and or high volatility. You know, not investment advice. Just be very, very careful in your trading. So the next opportunity we had here was a really, really nice one in February, late February of this year. Again, the momentum line here clearly broke February 25th, first thing in the morning. So that would have been this candle here. So the highest candles of this trend were right here, never broke above. So this would have been your short entry point right at this candle and just riding this back to the bottom. Again, this happened again here in just about a couple of days later. So your first break of momentum was here on March 2nd. Again, set your stop right here and just basically follow this thing to the downside and take your profits and exit when you see this the most powerful 1 hour momentum breaking back to the upside. So that is my game plan here, guys. I think we're setting up for a couple of these opportunities at least. You can see just these huge like violent moves to the downside and violent retraces, and that's going to be what I'm focusing on right now, is an opportunity to sort of scalp some of these moves at tops back to the downside. And I think we're going to get quite a few of them right over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, some exciting stuff. So anybody that missed Friday's opportunity to short the market or any first couple candles here on Monday, don't worry. I am very, very confident there's going to be more opportunities here coming very, very shortly. If not tomorrow, then maybe Wednesday. But I think what's going to happen here at some point here within the next probably tomorrow, it looks to me like very good chance tomorrow this thing, I don't know exactly where markets could very well open lower, push down, and then kind of have a retrace like throughout the day or Wednesday. But at some point, go here to the 1 hour, you're going to see when we do start getting some of these green momentum bubbles back to the upside, or at least a red reversal of this momentum bubbles back to the upside, you're going to very clearly see that the momentum is going to start waning on this move to the upside. And at some point, it's going to break back to the downside. And that is going to be your first clue of an entry. So again, what I do is I will set wherever I see the highest candles in here set, and especially I like the ones that show like wick, 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 which shows me there's a lot of rejection points. So I put my stop in there and then just ride this next leg down to the downside for as much profit as I can, and short a time period as I can basically is going to be the name of the game for me until I see a major reversal in the markets and start heading back higher, which is to me going to happen. But that chart of the XLF to me a little bit concerning, that 4 hour momentum breaking to the downside for the first time since July 2020. That chart of the SQQQ a little bit concerning, the chart of the VIX a little bit concerning. So we're just going to have to be very, very careful and very vigilant and watching this thing. I'm going to try to take you guys through as many of these short-term profit scenarios as I can over the next couple of weeks, however many I can see developing. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm going to definitely come out with another SPY video tomorrow, most likely one every day this week. And I'm also going to be trying, like I said, to hit a video on the Qs. I see a lot of short-term profit potential opportunities here developing over the next week, 2 weeks. So some really exciting stuff developing here in the market as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm a bull at heart, but when I see these bearish trends developing, I know there's profit potential out there for those who are kind of willing to work through the pain of learning how to navigate these short-term pullbacks. But again, subscribe to the channel. Can't wait to see you in the next update video. Thank you so much for joining me in this SPY video. Again, everybody, yeah, thanks. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you haven't done so, check my video out that I did on Friday on the Qs. Some more of the evidence I was putting forward on why I believe there was going to be a short-term period of high volatility and correction that's going to be happening in the markets. Check the video I did on the VIXY. Check the video I did on the SQQQ and QQQs. You're gonna see some more evidence I was putting forward on those. So with all that out of the way, again, thanks guys. Thanks for joining me on this video. I will see you in the next update tomorrow. Thank you and bye for now.